Welcome to another episode of Streetpreneurial Podcast, the podcast for creative and innovative entrepreneurs, small business owners, and startup companies. Today I have a very special guest. She's been in the printing business for over 7 years, and she's also, we're gonna talk about that, her whole background, how she got started. So it's been a little bit longer than that. She's from Cabrini Green. She's from Chicago by way of here now in Atlanta. She's an Atlanta native. And she's the CEO of ShePrints.com, She Prints It Company. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so we're gonna start off a little bit about your background, where you're from. If you can kind of relax and just get into it and tell us about where you're from, and then we're gonna definitely venture into the journey.
Yeah, for sure. So I am originally from Chicago, Chi-Town, specifically Cabrini Green in Chicago. If you know, you know. And my journey brought me to Atlanta. I attended Clark Atlanta University, Panther Pride, CAU. And after college, like most people, I stayed. Atlanta, it was just such a beautiful place. And I got to experience a world of Black boy and Black girl joy, where people supported each other and loved on each other unapologetically. And so I stayed and did different things. And over the years, it led me to where I am now, which is a business owner, but always still rooted in who I've always been, which is a community leader, a person who is committed to empowering Black people and women. So I just use my business to do that.
Okay. And printing, when did you, just kind of tell us a little bit about your journey? How did that whole process started? Were you mentored by someone, or did you work for a printing company? Or just kind of how did the whole concept come about?
Yeah, so like umpteen years ago, I would say, a friend and I just wanted to start a t-shirt line. Like we were looking for bold, impactful t-shirts that spoke to who we are as women of color. And in the early stages of that, we couldn't find any print companies that would print at our startup capital, I would say, which is, i.e., limited budget. And there wasn't any print companies at the time that offered a variety of print methods. They didn't support the customization that we were looking to do for our customers. And this is pre-dropship era. So we realized that we had to become what we needed, which is kind of the theme of my life. And over that time, we started a different company, and we were really just focused on, hey, well, how can we support other small businesses with the prints that they need, right? Because their capital is probably limited like ours. And so we did a lot of like onesie, twosies, small runs for startup businesses. And that was really how, I like to say that company was my masterclass in the print industry, right? I really took the time to understand the different print methods, how they work, why people do need specific budgets and set aside, and why companies don't print all the different print methods and all that good stuff. So when that company dissolved and we went our separate ways, I was just overly committed to not just printing for small businesses, but printing for businesses that needed promotional products to grow and scale, right? I wanted to make sure that women in business in particular, which at the time was the fastest growing sector in small business, that they had the ability to play in a sandbox with the big boys, but still maintain their unique appeal, right? And so any major entity that you can imagine, they all have over $1 million budgets on promotional products specifically, not including their full marketing budget. So I was like, well, how do I bring this back to small businesses, women in particular, and use it so they understand the ROI of free, right? How impactful this was. And so that's how I ended up here 7 years ago. We launched She Prints It, and it has been such a beautiful journey. Still being able to support all size businesses, but over the last 4 years, really growing into working with different corporations like Google and IHG and Southern Company and so on and so forth, which still just makes room for us to continue to support our foundation, which is women-owned businesses.
Okay. Let's bring it back to She Prints. What year did you start She Prints, and what was the startup cost to get the company going?
So I started She Printed in 2017.
Okay.
And it was an interesting story because although it was a natural progression from what I was doing before, I also still had a corporate job.
Okay. What was your corporate job?
I was a district manager for a supplement company.
Okay.
And that went totally left as there was so much racism going on. And I was like, you know how you tell yourself that you're staying in a job to pay for your business,
pay
and
bills.
you realize
Right.
to build your business, right? But you realize that's not what's happening, right? It's depleting you.
Right.
And so right before we started She Printed, I was terminated for racist discrimination. Like, it was just a very interesting thing that white people were on a recording saying that they're not going to work for this N-word. And it was so crazy, but it was God's plan. Yeah. Oh, for sure it was.
Sure, yeah.
But it was totally God's plan. I say some people jump off the cliff. I got pushed, and I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right.
But needless to say, so once I did that, I literally went in a room in my home and just prayed and was like, God, just give me 9 months. And I don't know if I thought I was birthing a baby or what, but I was like, give me 9 months. If it doesn't work, I'll do something different. And I did have a savings. So I probably had about $8,000 in that savings account. And I pretty much used it all up.
Okay.
Fortunately, my husband had my back. He was in total support of my vision, even though he didn't quite get it. And so I was fortunate in that essence that I had somebody to hold me down. But yeah, in 2017, with every little piece of money that I had saved up, I invested it into the company and coaching and all kind of things to really position me so I can know how to truly grow and scale a business.
Okay.
And
were you running the business out of your home, or were you renting a location? What was some of the equipment, your first equipment that you had to purchase?
Yeah, so I still had some equipment from the previous company, right? So it was a carryover. So initially we had a couple vinyl cutters, not very large format, but like 24-inch, 36-inch vinyl cutters, not like the Crickets or anything, like no shade to those, but still industrial style cutters, a couple heat press. We had a small embroidery machine in the beginning. And so it was a very simple setup, and it was in the spare bedroom that I prayed in my home is where She Printed started.
Okay. And I went online, I went to the website, and you have a great website, by the way.
Thank you.
I like how the products are displayed and everything as far as your showroom is concerned and all of that. How did you come up with that concept, or you kind of did your own layout of it and you know exactly how you wanted it to be because it's well put together?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Most of my clients are women. And as a woman, I know that visual aesthetics matter.
It does.
Right?
We
have to be able to see the potential of what our brand can be. Okay. And I've just always been big on looking as good as you are. Right? It's when we're younger, we're taught that we should dress for the job that we want. But as entrepreneurs, we forget that we should look like the company we want to be. So I was committed to, even when I was at home, making sure that my presentation, my setup, my background was all the things that I was not just encouraging other people to have, but that I looked like the company that I wanted to be. So in laying all those things out and making sure that the website was good. And listen, I'm a millennial. When we were younger, nice websites, quality emails, like corporate emails, all of that stuff was kind of standard. You know, even when we weren't being taught that from an entrepreneurial standpoint, we were being taught that you should look a certain way. So presentation also kind of aligns with just the era that I grew up in. But I knew that my audience, my customer base needed me to show up in excellence so that they would trust me with ultimately what their babies, which are their businesses. And so that's why I was very intentional about the appearance of it. Okay.
Were there any particular skills that you had to learn early on concerning the printing business? What were some of those skills? Just in case somebody's listening right now, they're definitely interested in starting their own printing company. What are some of the skills that they need to learn?
So I also, before I explain that, if I can, just make a quick differentiator, because we are a print and promotional products company. Okay. And there is a difference because we started in print, meaning that we physically had the tools to do the actual labor. We still operate in that space. But at this point, the bulk of our business is as a promotional products distributor. And the difference there is most promotional products companies, they don't print anything in-house, right? And this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And most people who are in that space, they do not print. So I don't want to discourage people from printing, but even in this journey for myself, I'm working on developing courses to really teach people how to build promotional products companies, because I think in small businesses, and particularly with Black-owned businesses, we tend to lean into labor-intense industries when a lot of times you can multiply 10x your money if you put that labor into mental labor and focus on building the clientele to get the dollars that you're looking for. But if you are committed to being in the print industry, I would say figure out what part of the industry you want to be in first, because there's so many different machines. Like, do you want to be an embroidery printer? Right. Do you want to be a screen printer? Do you want to focus on like doing sign print, right? And those are all very different things. We happen to do them all, but we didn't start off doing them all. And if you're going to do it like in screen print, we have almost $100,000 in equipment for screen print. It's not a super inexpensive space if you do it from a commercial side. So decide where you want to be. If you're going to do heat transfer or vinyl printing, I think there's way more money and much higher profit margins in doing sign printing. And it's the same equipment. It's the same vinyl cutter. But your profit margins are so much higher in adhesive vinyl than it is in heat transfer vinyl. DTF is a newer print method now, right? And that's kind of what's taken over in the heat transfer space. And those equipment start at somewhere between 20,000 or so, but a great place to start if you want to do apparel printing from what I like to say, like intimate event setting, birthday parties, family reunions,
so I see
bridal showers.
More T-shirts and caps and I see a lot of that in our community. And most people I know have a T-shirt brand, or they pushing a cap brand or something like that. But like you said, you also have the sign print companies. I see a lot of those as well too.
And you got to determine who you're trying to service, right? If you're trying to service an apparel brand as a printer, that's totally different than trying to service a business that needs marketing material for their brand, right? So you just really, I think the best answer is to know who your target audience is. Know who you want to serve. And when you're clear on who you want to serve and you understand what their needs are, it's so much easier to niche down to say, this is the print method that will allow me to best serve that particular audience.
Okay. And let's kind of break it down to attracting clients. As far as your corporate clients are concerned. Like you said, those clients who maybe it's a big corporation and they want to order 2,000 buttons or 2,000 lanyards or 2,000 water bottles. Kind of walk us through the process of how you acquire that particular client as far as from a marketing point of view.
Yes.
Do you cold call them? Do you contact the PR agent, department or?
Dealing with corporate is slow to close, but a booming market from a profitability standpoint and growth standpoint. And I would say like the most important things for us in being just visible, it's more after the fact, right? We are both WBENC certified and MBE WOSB certified. Those certifications just define us as women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and the WOSB is more government-centered, that we're a woman-owned small business, right? Okay. And so from a marketing standpoint, we really lean into those certifications, reaching out to companies and letting them know in their DEI programs or their supplier diversity efforts, understanding if they have made commitments to having a certain spend with minority-owned, women-owned businesses. And so introducing ourselves, knowing that this is an industry that they're already working in, right? So just giving them the opportunity to support a minority-owned or small woman-owned business. And so, yeah, it's through cold calling, but I'm really big on being able to touch, see, feel people in real life. So we do a lot of trade shows. I do speaking events. And the reason I think that media is helpful on the back end is because a lot of times after they've met you, connected with you, they're going to Google you. They're going to look and see who you've worked with before, where you've shown up before, what messaging that you're putting out there, because they want to make sure it aligns with them. And so most recently, we started to work with Staples, and we made history as the very first Black woman-owned supplier in the Staples promotional products chain. Okay. But a part of that conversation, they saw a podcast that I was on, right? And from that and what they heard there, they also brought me in to be a paid speaker for one of their events that they were having for their BRG. So just do all the things. It's a little bit of everything. How you show up on social media, how you show up in the media world via podcasts or interviews, all of those things support at some level. But definitely pick up that phone, call, email, and show up where your audience is. Whether it's corporate or not, you have to be where they are to make those relationships. And the last thing I would say, that what I think is pretty cool about this corporate is that it's small but mighty, meaning that most people who are in the supplier diversity leadership or DEI leadership, they kind of all know each other in some shape, form, or fashion. So doing good work for one puts the word out that, this is a legit company. And so when we become approved vendors for another company, more than likely they have an easy reach to call one of our former clients or other clients and say, hey, you've worked with them, what is it? So make sure you do good business, because word travels. Is still small but mighty when it comes to those leaders in corporate. Okay.
What are some of your top selling promotional? What do your customers request or order the most?
So I think what will never go away would be T-shirts, tote bags, and some type of drinkware, right? Okay. And pens. Those are things that sometimes people are just like, I don't want to do that because it's saturated. And I'm like, successful markets are saturated markets. So don't reinvent the wheel. Every company should be in a position to give away tote bags, pens, some type of drinkware, and T-shirts in some capacity. Okay. But then it's all about just niching down, not necessarily the product, but how do you connect the messaging to the product for the audience that you're looking to serve. Okay.
As far as vendors, outside vendors that you use for your promotional items to do the printing and all this kind of stuff, where would you suggest that potential people who are interested in getting into the printing business go to find those particular vendors?
From the printing side of it, on the equipment piece, we are, there's a couple large print shops here that we get our materials from, our paint materials. Color Matrix is the one in Atlanta that we use. They also sell vinyl, and they sell heat press and things like that. US Cutter is another supplier that we use. And it just varies. We have a slew of different partners depending on what we need and what side of the business we're working from, right? So some suppliers we use from the screen print side, other suppliers we're using from the large format sign side. Right. And so it just varies.
Just depends.
Yeah, it just depends.
Yeah. And what are some of the new changes that are taking place in the printing industry as of right now that you see taking place?
DTF as a print method is probably one of the biggest booms in the print space, and that's direct to film. And so that is essentially probably the best thing going right now for full color print. Right. Before DTF, people may have heard of DTG, which was direct to garment.
Okay.
And it was such a time intense process, right? Direct to garment, you had to treat the shirt, you had to pre-press the shirt, you had to print on the shirt, and you had to post treat the shirt. It was like so many steps.
Yeah.
And so now direct to film, although the machine itself still has a few processes. Once that transfer is printed, you just get your heat press it for 15 seconds, and you're ready to rock and roll. And I think it really speaks to how technology and innovation is really pushing the needle when it comes to the print industry. Now, in the promotional product space, tech also is a leader, right? You see so many more companies giving away tech-centered products like chargers for your phone or headphones or earbuds, and being able to partner with major companies that we all know like Apple or JBL, right? And those companies now giving us the opportunity from a licensing standpoint to print other people's logos on their products. So just really staying connected to how those trends are impacting every industry. And I'm sure there's even more to come with ChatGPT from a design perspective, which is also super important to print, right? Because if the design ain't hidden, you can print as much stuff as you want, but they're not going to buy it.
Right.
So technology has really grabbed all aspects of the print industry in a chokehold, and they've had to grow with it.
Right. Are you currently using it in your business right now? Which software are you using, and which technology?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have, from a graphic design standpoint, because I don't do graphic design, and we do have an art director. Her name is Quiness. And so she manages that department of the business, and she's definitely on top of what's going on with the AI and how to work that. And I think for her, in the conversations we've had, it's been more like, how do we make sure this is being used properly?
Okay.
Because there's a lot of misunderstanding on how to use these tools effectively. And because our center focus are business owners, one of the things we're always focused on in conversation with our clients and from a design perspective is ownership. When you're designing out of MailChimp out of Canva or any of those places, you don't own that.
True.
And so as much as we're trying to make it happen for you, we also want to make sure that we've created something that is signature and custom to you, that you can actually trademark and own, and not have to worry about some big conglomerate like Canva coming back and saying, hey, now that you're a multi-billion-dollar business, actually we own your logo, and you owe us a percentage of any money that you've earned by using our licensed art, right? So as much as we lean into it, we also lean into those conversations with our customers, like
so
make sure you're using it.
The trademarks and your copyrights and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So that's very important.
Yeah.
Glad you touched on that.
Yeah.
So so you have your own in-house graphics team, and who handles, like you said, the logos and everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. As far as profit margin, what would you say is your top selling items?
Anything from the sign side of it. So, which would be anything from, doing window decals and, even like the vinyl that you put on walls internally and externally, your large format printing, like custom tints and backdrops and retractable banners. That space is very profitable.
Yes.
And a lot of flexibility in those profit margins. And so that would be what I would say is some of our most profitable.
Okay. And someone who's looking to get started in this particular business, what would you say they can expect to earn their first year in business and printing? I know it varies,
Yeah, that's such a loaded question, because it, like, when I say it can vary,
Right, just from someone that's starting off doing T-shirts and hats, well, with
I don't want to necessarily put a number on there, because I want people to be realistic in their expectations.
Okay.
Ultimately, it's a reflection of how hard you go.
Yeah.
Right?
They work. Yes.
And so if you're not out there grinding in the beginning, there was not a trade show or vending opportunity that people did not see us. We showed up everywhere. And we used our retail line that we also have, which is She Wear Club. We used that to show up as a vendor in every space that we could, that we felt our target audience was. And then when we were there in person, we said, hey, we can also print these things for your business, right?
Okay.
And so we were constantly in front of people. Yeah. We never missed the opportunity for people to know our name until we got to the point, or not until, because we still do it, but we're at the point that our name is spoken in rooms that we're not in. But you have to be willing to build up to that. Right. I would say don't think so much about how much you're going to profit in the first year, and focus on what are you doing in the first year to ensure that you have a 10th year and a 15th year and a 20th year, right? Because doing it right in the beginning will be the differentiator between you and somebody who seemingly kind of blew up, quote unquote, overnight. Yeah. But fail overnight as well. So focus on just like really being clear and not so heavily focused on profitability. In business in general, most people don't see a profit in the first, most companies don't survive the first 1 to 3 years, right? So surviving the first 1 to 3 years, that's a round of applause. Right. And then most companies are not even profitable until about their 5th year. I would say that wasn't our story. We were fortunate to be profitable immediately. However, that's still because I had experience prior to starting She Prints It, right? I think about large companies that small businesses that we know now that have done really well, like a Slutty Vegan, for example. She's in her 3rd or 4th year.
Yeah, she's doing exceptionally well.
Yes, but keep in mind that she had a restaurant for 10 years prior to starting Slutty Vegan.
That's true.
So when you put that in full perspective, that's 13 years of experience that got her here. Yes, sure. So just keep grinding, like keep going, never stop learning. Like you are never too good to learn something. If you live in, you should be learning. And, just go hard in mastering your craft so no one can ever tell you anything different. If you focus on mastery and that getting those hours in, it will all pay off.
Yes, it will. That's well. Yeah. Great answer. Great answer. Tell me a little bit about the clothing line again. You just mentioned it.
Yeah.
Your own promotional in-house clothing line.
Yeah. So we have a retail line. It is called She Wear Club. You can purchase it at shewear.club. Okay. It is really just passive income. Like I was telling you earlier, I started in the print industry because I wanted to do a T-shirt brand that spoke to women and women of color in particular.
They can purchase it from your website.
From shewear.club. It's not directly connected to She Prints It. She Prints It is their print company.
Okay, I got you.
And that's a difference too in how you separate your money, but that's another conversation.
That's another conversation.
But needless to say, so it's really just our labor of love. I actually just decided to gift it to my 10-year-old. So that's going to be her business now and how she's going to make money, and we're going to revitalize the marketing and stuff around it for her.
Okay. Is there anything new, any new projects you're currently working on right now for women, or anything you want to talk about, any new developments or as with the company is concerned?
Yeah, so as it relates to the company, She Prints It, we recently rolled out a program called Promo with a Purpose.
Promo with a Purpose.
Yes, and it is in partnership with our different corporate clients. When they commit to an annual spend of $75,000 or more with us, we take a percentage of that and offer grants to small startup businesses that are producing less than $100,000 a year.
That's good.
And those grants will cover specific marketing materials that they need. So whoever wins, we may realize that they need graphic design services, so they'll get a grant to cover the cost of graphic design, getting logos made or marketing material from a graphic standpoint, or if they need a nice vendor or trade show set up, the grants will cover that. But we really we're so committed to making sure that companies look as good as they are. We know it's easy to just give people money, but we want to be intentional in knowing, as experts in this industry, that we're going to give you a grant of, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 that you can apply towards these items that will really help you grow and scale your business. And it also aligns with the companies, the corporate companies that we serve, who they also have initiatives to support women-owned businesses. We're just really big on lifting as we climb, and I don't ever want to get to a point where I forget my beginnings, and understanding that it's important to be for others what it is that you needed. So I'm always operating in that space. I'm super excited about this rollout. We have partnered with 1 Million Dreams Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that helps women and girls in business. And so we'll be releasing the first grant application in partnership with them under their umbrella. And so, I'm super excited. And I'll also be speaking at their summit here in Atlanta on the 29th of June. So I'm just excited to really just keep showing up and showing out for my community. And lastly, I would say, as it relates to community, as I said earlier, I'm a girl from Cabrini Green, and my best friend of over 30 years and I just started a company in Chicago called Cabrini Art House. And so it's both a nonprofit and a for-profit. We are purchasing a church in our old neighborhood to start a creative hub. He owns a very successful creative marketing agency. And so both of our companies will be inside of that building, but it's really to commemorate, celebrate, and sustain the history of the community that we grew up in, but also offer a space for creative entrepreneurs to come and work and collaborate and grow and scale their businesses.
Right, like a co-working space.
Yeah,
that's a great concept.
Thank you.
Great idea. I like that. You're definitely doing some big things.
Thank you.
Yeah, always. We want to thank you for coming to the show. Is there any other advice you can give entrepreneurs that are looking to get started in business? Just kind of drop some gems on them. So,
I would. My biggest piece of advice is don't expect people to invest in you if you don't invest in you.
Good one.
And so often we come into different scenarios with the expectation that people should help us just because. And it's fair to want people to support your journey, but we need to see that you're supporting your journey. Invest in coaching. Find mastermind communities, find business coaches, pay for somebody's consultative services, right? Because if you show up, I'll say even for me, because I do consultations in this space too, and I'm in many masterminds. I have spent over 6 figures in coaching and mentoring and all that kind of stuff. But I think when you show up and you show that I want to invest, people will go above and beyond for you. So be what you want people to be for you, for yourself first, and watch God work.
One more thing. Who are some of the coaching programs or mentorship programs that people should get into? Because people say it, but they never announce who the coach. People are like, okay, they say it, but they never announce who the coaching programs are.
Absolutely.
Who the mentors are.
Yeah,
so other people want to know. Like I said, most entrepreneurs make the statement, but they don't give the information.
Listen, ask and you shall receive. So Dr. Felicia Phillips.
Dr. Felicia Phillips
is a phenomenal coach. She was one of my first one-on-one coaches, business coaches. She's still one of my coaches and mentors. She's amazing. If I pick up the phone and need help, she is there all the time, and she has over 30 years of experience under her belt, and she works with corporations and things like that as well. She has a cohort called the Trusted Circle, but if you look up Dr. Felicia Phillips, you will find whatever you need and connect with her. She's also leading the MogulCon Summit. Okay, so definitely show up. You get to meet her in person. You get to meet me in person. Okay. And I am an open book when it comes to those things. And then another community I'll share is Traffic, Sales, and Profit. And that is founded by Lamar and Ronnie Tyler. Lamar is amazing. The community is amazing. I'm a part of their mastermind. And so the community is worth the investment over and over again. And they have different levels depending on where you are. So those are the two that I use currently. Okay. But I have participated in so many. I'll also plug one of my clients, BIA, Black Innovation Alliance. And they also have an amazing program that people should look into as well. Theirs is by invite only. But it's a just phenomenal work that they're doing. When I say, now that's a true reflection of someone who took their expertise and built something that I believe will change the world. Kelly Burden, who is the founder, I truly believe what she's doing with BIA and how she's putting small businesses in a position to make millions of dollars in support of and supported by government and other entities. It's going to be a game changer. It's going to be a game changer. So those are my suggestions.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate you dropping those gems. And I'm sure those organizations and those people are going to help a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we want to thank you for taking your time out, coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And you gave a lot of great information to people who are interested in starting a printing business, and for those who just wanted to learn a little bit more about it, about how it works. So, and again, I want to thank you for coming out, giving me your contact information. How can they find you? How can they place orders? Just kind of tell them a little bit about your contact information.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're She Printed on all platforms. And you can reach us online at sheprintsit.com. We have an office in Stockbridge, Georgia. If you happen to be in Georgia, you can always swing by the office, 10 Wilson Road. You can also just Google it. And our contact number is 844-777-5900. And our email is info@sheprintsit.com. And if you just want to, fool around with the foolishness that I got going on in my personal life, and just keep track of like different places where I may be speaking in podcasts that I'm participating in you can follow me on Instagram at Cher'Don_CEO. And social media is Dr. Cher'Don Reynolds.
Okay, there you have it. And like I said again, thank you for coming out.
Thanks for
and I thank all those who are watching and also those who are listening to the show today. Be sure to check us out for the next episode. We always have great informative entrepreneurs coming out, small business owners. I want you all to hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel. We thank for it and let's see you again. Thank you.